Hi there and welcome to She Spice. Hello people! Miserable news in Tinseltown as we bid goodbye to the unbelievable Carl Climates, a network iron force to be reckoned with turned cinema sensation, known for his bone-pulverizing hits on the football field with the Oakland Plunderers and conveying killer blows as Apollo ideology in the famous rough series weather conditions process was completely wonderful anyway. Murmurs in the Hollywood grapevine indicate a more profound story encompassing his passing reports are whirling that Sylvester Stallone Climate's long-lasting companion and partner may be equipping to spill the tea on some behind-the-scenes bits of insight. The pair shared a nearby bond, both on and off the screen, making it nothing unexpected that Stallone could be the one to uncover stowed-away parts of Climate's life. There have for some time been hypotheses about Climates confronting separation in the business, engaging without holding back to show what him can do in an industry famous IS for its difficulties in such height of his striking ability and endeavors. It appears it actually wasn't enough. Stallone, being an observer to weather conditions process, might be holding on to a few untold stories now. As the tattle factory stirs, there are murmurings that weather conditions' unfavorable death profoundly impacted Stallone. Some propose that he has zero desire to hold back and is outfitting to express his genuine thoughts to Hollywood about Climate's passing. This present circumstance fills in as a distinct update hat behind the style and charm of Hollywood. There's a shadowy side that can gobble you up if you don't watch out. So the thing precisely is Stallone wanting to uncover. We should get into it. So Sylvester Stallone paid a tragic recognition for Carl Climates, his dear companion and teammate who unfortunately died. Stallone, noticeably steamed, remained before a work of art, catching a pivotal scene between the two, spilling his feelings out to respect Climates in a crude and profound second. Stallone share. Today is an unimaginably miserable day for me. I'm so destroyed I couldn't tell you on the grounds that Carl Climates was a particularly fundamental piece of my life, my prosperity, every little thing about it. He didn't keep down in that frame of mind to Climates, recognizing the significant effect he had on his own life and the progress of the notorious rough establishment. Pondering whenever he first saw Climates, Stallone thought back. I give him fantastic credit when he strolled into that room and I saw him. Interestingly, I saw significance, yet I didn't understand how extraordinary. Stallone conceded that accomplishing how they managed rough could never have been conceivable without Climates, lauding his brightness, strong voice, forcing size, physicality, and above all his entire being. As Stallone remained before the work of art, he shared a piercing second. I'm remaining here before this painting, since it was most likely the latest possible moment we were ever in the ring together, and I will as remember it. The feeling in his voice was tangible, and he battled to keep down tears as he closed down with a genuine, he was wizardry, and I was so lucky to be essential for his life. So Apollo continued to punch. Carl Climates was such an integral part of my life, my prosperity. Every little thing about it. I give him fantastic credit and praise. A contacting recognition gives us a brief look into the significant effect Carl Climates had on Stallone's life, both expertly and by man. Watching Stallone nearly break down while honoring his pal Climates was totally horrible. It got a ton of fans figuring there may be more going on with weather conditions passing, something Stallone could have to get off his chest. Stallone spilled some tea on the segregation weather conditions confronted, particularly when it came to the rough series. Imagining that weather is wild wasn't even on the radar for the job of a doctorate at first. Yet here's the kicker. He just handled the part in light of the fact that Stallone pushed for him. Imagine if Tricky hadn't battled for Carl. We could have passed up quite possibly the most famous person in film history. So how did our man Carl win the part if the studio wasn't flowing with him? Here's the kicker. He straight up offended Sylvester Stallone during their perusal of the content. That's right. You heard it right. Climates dropped a remark that was so Apollo doctrine-esque that Stallone couldn't overlook it. In that frame of mind, with the Hollywood correspondent, Stallone let the cat out of the bag, saying the weather conditions comment felt so legitimate to the person that he just needed to project him. Carl let the cat out of the bag in a meeting with the Rich Eisen show, saying we read through the scene, and toward the end of it, I didn't feel like it had truly cruised. The scene had cruised, and they were peaceful, and there was this snapshot of ungainliness I felt at any rate. So I just exclaimed I could improve, assuming you got me a genuine entertainer to work with. He directly dissed the star of the film, Sylvester Stallone, without acknowledging it. Currently, here's where it gets insane. Stallone, being the brains behind the content, knew precisely the way in which each character ought to fall off the screen, rather than getting irritated. He was satisfied with Climate's strong and egotistical reactions. He considered this man to be the ideal candidate for Apollo belief, so our man Carl unexpectedly slighted Ruff himself. However, much to his dismay, that explosion was precisely the exact thing Stallone accepted and exemplified in the strut of Apollo's statement of faith. It's one of those minutes where botches really work in your favor. Climate's reckless and intense disposition during the tryout got him the gig, as well as making him a star. He brought that streak and certainty through the whole 1980s, turning into an activity legend for the individuals who looked more like him than his white partners now. One more section of how Carl Climates kicked down the entryways of Hollywood segregation was through the unbelievable film Hunter. This 1987 activity thriller was something else entirely from the Rough series. Yet weather conditions personalities Dylan was all the while breaking standards for a person of color in those times. You gotta see the value by the way everything went down in Hunter Climates. Dylan wasn't simply one more companion or a symbolic person. He was on a similar level as the huge man himself. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch picture, this Dylan and Dutch's welcome was essentially the most testosterone-filled handshake in film history. The second, which is currently an image sensation, was something other than a cool visual. It was a strong assertion, particularly considering the last part of the 1980s Hollywood scene you child of, and we should put it into point of view. Schwarzenegger was the outright lord of the film world in those days. A previous Mr. Universe, or as Climates brazenly named him on the This Evening Show featuring Johnny Carson in 1988, Mr. All That, and here's the kicker. Ari only very rarely finds his match on screen. I mean, the man lifted a tree trunk and conveyed it like a sack of food in Commando. However, at that point, Hunter-in-Chief John McCann turned the tables. Weather conditions personalities, and Hunter Dillon wasn't only there to take on a supporting role. He got a similar regard regularly saved for the activity figures Schwarzenegger typically played in any event. When Dillon loses the suspended arm wrestling match in that well-known scene, the ramifications are that it's simply because his new CIA demise work mellowed him a little. It resembled true-life insurgency, break generalizations, and gave Climates the spotlight he legitimately merited. Hunter transformed into a distinct advantage, demonstrating that Climates could tolerate toe-in-toe with the greatest star on Earth both on and off-screen now. Carl Climates was not a Hollywood legend, but a steady companion and tutor to those in the business. Gina Carano, you know the previous Mandalorian boss took to Instagram to let the cat out of the bag on her kindred. On the off chance that you've been monitoring the Star Wars show, you'd know Gina Carano got the boot from The Mandalorian subsequent to blending the pot for certain dubious remarks back in February 2021. The people pulling the strings chose not to bring her back for the third season or some other Star Wars side projects. Yet here's the unexpected development. Carl Climates, who played Misery Karga and coordinated 9 episodes of The Mandalorian, clearly contacted Gina after she got the hatchet. Gina spilled the tea on Instagram, sharing that Climates called me straightforwardly after I was terminated by Gina. Climates went full-on steady mode, and he hit her up just after she got the corner, offering delicate, uplifting statements and essentially being the close-to-home anchor she wanted in those difficult stretches. Kenano spilled. He was delicate and empowering and didn't need me to surrender. He was telling me that he wasn't discarding me. He was attempting to keep my expectations alive in seemingly a seriously sad situation. He showed me he was minded. That is the kind of person he was nevertheless standing by. It gets shockingly better. She spilled the tea on their tight bond during Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, uncovering that Jon Favreau figured Climates would be the ideal tutor for her favorite. The genius behind the show even had Climates direct Gina's most memorable episode in Season 2. Gina proceeded to share how Climates was something other than a chief. He was a coach on and off set. He had this quieting energy, putting the two of his arms on her shoulders and looking at her straight without flinching to quiet her soul. Currently, here's the kicker. Regardless of this exceptional ability and strong way of behaving, there's this waiting inquiry in certain people's minds. They're scratching their heads, asking why Carl Climates didn't skyrocket to a similar degree of distinction as the unbelievable Denzel Washington. I mean, Climates had the ideal platform with Ruff. He was gorgeous, and charm essentially overflowed out of him. However, for reasons unknown, he didn't exactly hit that top-level status. Now the discussion is getting genuine. Individuals are contending that Denzel Washington is only a more talented entertainer. Subscribe She Spice for more videos.